Usually sort of like an incoming spiritual guide almost. So that means that they don't really interact with our dimensional reality. Just so everybody knows, we are in the third dimensional reality. And I can explain a little bit about that later too, because that can sound confusing. But when a spirit comes through, like a guide or a loved one from the other side, they are going to be coming from the spiritual realm that doesn't really partake with this too much like ghosts do. Ghosts are really kind of in and out a lot, and they seem to have their own personality. So when a spirit comes through, they're not really going to be showing any kind of deformity unless they're trying to indicate who they are from a life previously. Let's say if it's a grandmother or a deceased aunt or something like that. So yeah, and they're not really going to say anything mean. They're not going to seem to have any emotion. Actually, I take that back. A lot of times they will make you feel an overwhelming emotion, but what they're making you feel is this love pouring out. And a lot of people can become teary-eyed, and it can feel like your heart is swelling. So that's one thing about a spirit. A ghost, on the other hand, is also known as a tulpa. I think that's a Tibetan word for thought. So a ghost is a thought form in, I guess, its most simplistic term. But so anyways, what happens, let me talk about how a ghost is created.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
And you know what we see in movies and whatnot, is that valid? Is any of that, excuse me, is any of that true?
Oh, I'm sure movies display a lot of things that are true. There are some things that are not true.
Yeah, I feel like they exaggerate it.
Yeah, some things are just not true. However, ghosts can live right outside of our dimension. So they're kind of like living with us, but just in a dimension where nothing is really solid. And where the minute you think about something, it appears before you. So let me just give you a little scenario about how a ghost is created. So let's say somebody dies suddenly, and during the time that their soul departed from their body, their mind was really ego and materialistic. This means that they didn't connect with themselves emotionally very much. When you don't do that, you can't really retain a resonance with your own higher self. So that's why I'm always pointing people back to their emotion, because that's your connection to your spirit guide. So what happens is that you have all these energies inside of your body that is very much attached to its identity and its life. So if you die suddenly and you're already attached very much so to your identity and your material life, then what's going to happen is that energetic portion of yourself in your body is going to fracture off, and it's going to split off and stay in the fourth or fifth dimension. Sounds really weird, right?
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
But it is my promise to everybody that nobody's soul is left behind. That means that your soul essence, your light essence, goes back to the stream of collective energy. Some people call it God, heaven, the universe. Nobody can really be stuck here, but we are a conglomeration of selves, different selves from different ages and different times and scenarios, even traumas. And so naturally an energetic portion of yourself will split off and stay, while your actual soul goes back.
Right, where it
Mm-hmm.
came from. So when you do readings, for example, someone comes to you and they say, can you contact my great-grandfather? Is it their energy that you're contacting? It's not their soul. Their soul is left and it's gone,
no.
right? You're saying?
No, it's their soul.
It's their soul. Okay.
Yeah, so your soul goes back to the light. So this doesn't say that, your own individual energy just dissipates into the light. A lot of people, when they have a near-death experience, they say, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. The light where you're going to is to heaven. That's commonly known as heaven, but you don't lose your soul identity, the identity of your soul from where you came from.
Yeah.
So a ghost is a persona of a life that you used to live in the fourth and fifth dimension. Now, interesting question. So when I do a spirit message, I'm talking to the soul stream. Yeah, so that's, I always connect with the light beings. Very rarely am I going to be coming into contact with a ghost. When you go to the other side, when your light self, the essence of your being goes to the other side, you can come back in and kind of penetrate the third dimension and let people know that you're watching them. There's something called rapport. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, you are.
And that is where your loved ones can literally come in and place objects in your home or your space, and they can literally leave you gifts. So that's the difference, I guess. But yeah, the gifts is really cool. So I don't know if anybody's experienced this, but what happens right before a spirit drops you an item is you're going to hear this like loud cosmic crack in the atmosphere, or it almost is kind of like thunder. So you'll know it's very, very strange. And then if you ever hear that, where it sounds like a supersonic interdimensional boom with some crackling, you'll know to go look for something that was not previously there.
What's interesting about it is I feel like a lot of people have told me, and I personally have experienced this, is they experience these scenarios when they're younger, when they're children.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a child, I never forgot this. I remember being in my bedroom, and I remember the TV going on, and I remember just seeing static.
Mm.
And another time I would see the door move in my room, and I would always feel like there was some presence in my room. It was really weird. And I used to have dreams about the house. Like, I would have dreams of these beings being in my house. Like, it was very intense when I was a child. But as I got older, I did not have that. Is there a reason why children have those type of experiences?
Oh my gosh, yes. Children, I have to just say that everybody is psychic and everybody can connect, but I'm not likely to be a mathematician, whereas somebody else is not likely. You know what I mean? like I can do math if I really wanted to and I wanted to try, I may not have come here to do that. So that's the difference between psychics and people who don't work as psychics. They're just doing something else simply. But children, on the other hand, are incredibly receptive to the spirit world because they don't question themselves. That's something that we were taught to do. We were taught to question ourselves. And a lot of times we're taught to not cry. Crying is not allowed. We're taught to be humble. Right. So basically everything that is naturally a part of us, a lot of those things are indoctrined out of us through institutions and just socialization in general. Yeah, I mean, children are very, very receptive. And having dreams where there are multiple beings in your home is more than likely you remembering an out-of-body experience and simply observing all of those people. But also another thing to understand is that when you are experiencing ghosts or tulpas, those thought forms that have gained more of an identity in the other dimensions, is that they're attracted to your energy. This is the law of attraction working. So if you were to come across a ghost that's not very nice, you're going to apply the same principle if you believe in the law of attraction to, let's say, oh, I attracted this really bad customer at my job that keeps coming back. Same thing with a ghost. You're just going to have to look at your vibration and what lesson you're supposed to learn with them. Yeah. So fear only perpetuates more fear.
Right.
And honestly, ghosts really get off on the fear because all it is energy directed toward them and giving them power.
Exactly. And another funny story, because the reason we're talking about this actually, because recently I was getting some beauty thing done, and I was with this lady, and we're in the room. She was like doing my eyebrows, and all of a sudden, the light just. I mean, she could pick up on energies. It was really interesting. You're both having this discussion. And all of a sudden, the light, which was over my face, just the light, the bulbs just blew out. And not just blowing out. I mean, smoke was coming out from them. And we were just both really freaked out because, like, really, for no reason. I mean, it was smoking. So she, like, unplugged it, so. And you were telling me that it was a poltergeist.
Yeah, that sounds like poltergeist activity. So if a spirit comes in and starts moving things around, causing all of your electronics to act weird. They're drawing energy from that. And I've even heard stories where ghosts in like the third dimension have their own lives, and maybe the ghosts are fighting each other or having an argument. And yeah, no, I'm serious.
Oh,
and they just start throwing things around, and then it affects, and it veers into this dimension. So that sounds like a poltergeist activity, but also you said the lady connects with spirit a lot.
She does. We were talking about it.
That's more than likely why she's having poltergeist activity, because if your focus is on ghosts, what do we know about the law of attraction? You're going to attract ghosts.
Oh, okay. So I know that if I want to see a ghost, I should hang out with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both of us together, It was another scenario in the room where there was an object on the table that just started moving by itself. And we were like, just sitting, because we were talking about it. She used to live in this haunted house, and she was telling me her experiences in there. And I think that probably attracted it.
And the thing about ghosts, too, is that if they don't get any focus from their environment, they're going to lose energy and they're going to go away. So ghosts that really, really, really want to be here, they're really just trying to be noticed. But not only that, they're going to travel to people's energy that is like theirs, very similar.
That's interesting. So when someone attracts, I suppose, a haunting or something negative, you think it's because
they probably need to do some kind of trauma release. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, we as humans, we have a tendency these days, because of socialization, to stuff our feelings inside. So let's say you experienced something that was really damaging and you never acknowledged it because your brain suppressed it so you could keep on with survival. You could attract a ghost that's vibrating at the same frequency as that particular memory that's in your subconscious mind. I've had that happen to me before.
Really?
And it was, I mean, nothing really scares me anymore because I know that nothing has power over me.
Right.
But it was a very nasty being. And how I addressed that was I gave it a lecture like it was a 16-year-old kid. Yeah, I gave it a little talk about personal responsibility.
Boundaries, please. Ghost, please watch your boundaries.
And I just took my power back. I mean, honestly, and then you forget about it, and that's the most important thing. If you've experienced something unwanted, it's imperative that you forget about that thing.
Interesting. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people do experience that, but they're afraid to say anything, or they don't know who to go to.
Yeah.
So I think doing that, regaining your power, telling them to go away, or even wanting to attune with them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Or just speaking to them about why they're there, because that, like you said, attuning to the ghosts, I think is better because it gives you an understanding about yourself in a really weird way. It's just kind of like any other person that you'd want to figure out why they were there. Just try to attune to their energy, be with them, feel them, understand. Sometimes that's all they need. But I do want to say, however, that there are certain areas, like certain kind of land that has certain minerals that do retain energy.
Really? That's cool, actually. Wow. What kind of minerals?
You know what? I'm going to have to look that up. Okay. I just felt like I really needed to mention this, although I don't know so much about what kind of minerals cause this. But that does happen. So I want to say in those cases, you're probably dealing with a ghost that's not really even a ghost. It's just this energy that keeps going back and forth because of something energetically with the land. Georgia, the state of Georgia, is the most haunted freaking state I've ever been to. And honestly, I think it's just something to that. It could be Native American energy or curses or something.
The Native Americans lived in certain locations because of that.
True, because they were more connected to the astral realm. Just now that we're on the topic of Indians, a lot of the Indian tribes regarded spirit as being very intimately close with, our reality now, except for the Navajos. They buried the dead right away, and they tried not to mention the deceased after that. So I don't know if somewhere along the line of the Navajo tribe, there was something that completely deterred them from going there. At the same rate, they didn't really have thoughts about a reward punishment style of afterlife, so they just kind of buried the dead, and they were like, let's just be over this and leave it alone. And the Sioux tribe and the Lakota, they honored the dead. The Lakota tribes, they believe that their ancestors were very, very connected to them, and oftentimes they would try to channel their energy to help them with their lives through ceremonial rites.
Yeah, it's also different, the different cultures. But I know that Native Americans were very in tune to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an amazing thing, and I wish that we learned more about it in school. I feel like lately, children don't learn so much about the Native Americans, and they're kind of pushing it out. I remember as a kid, we learned so much about them.
Yes, and it's because they were oppressed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the Native Americans, it's so important for them to be honored because they have so much astrally going on with the land. I heard Portland, Oregon.
Oh, I've always wanted to go there.
The astral realm in Portland, Oregon. The veil is very thin there, but it's also very active, and a lot of Native Americans still live in those astral realms. I've actually astral traveled to Portland, Oregon myself.
And how did it feel to be over there?
It felt really cool, to be honest. But the best part about it was that particular time that I left my body, I was lifted by angels, and I could hear the angelic sound. Wow, so angels are amazing. Good thing we're on the topic here of spirits, because angels, when they interact with our dimension, is usually going to be through light and sound. Light, sound, and I guess speed. I thought there was another one.
In pictures, sometimes I've seen it where colors, like different colors, come out in pictures, like a burst of light.
Yes, it's color. Light, sound, and color.
Light, sound, and color. Yeah, I've seen that happen in some of my pictures. Yeah.
Those are the things that they use to come in and be of assistance. I connect with the angelic realm through sound, and It's the most amazing sound you could ever hear. It's very heavenly. It's a heavenly sound. It's very high octave, like ha. It's like, and I understand why churches have these amazing choirs. It's because they're drawing those angelic energies to them.
It's so beautiful. Aw, I love that.
Yeah.
And I know so many people out there want to connect to this spirit. What advice can you give to people who want to become more intuitive or want to connect to this other realm?
The best piece of advice that I can give is to try to connect to yourself. You know, I've heard the phrase know thyself, and it really is important. So that means that, you know, being with yourself, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much stress you hold on to, and you just want to get off work and go have a beer, or you get stressed out, you want to have a cigarette. It's actually really important to just stay with your feelings, because your spirit guide is connecting to you through your emotions. And then your emotions become your guidance system, your own psychic system. Do you know what I mean? So the farther away you are from your own emotions, the harder it's going to be to make the right decisions for yourself. And then on top of that, try to tap in to the messages from the spirit world. But there's always prayer. There's always prayer. And the key about prayer is to not go into this state of please, 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 because that resonates with a lack of. So when you're praying,
be grateful.
Yeah, be grateful for what you have, but also say, I'm ready for this. Because, you know, when you're in this state of please, 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 it doesn't really sound like you're ready for it. It doesn't sound like, you know, you might even want it for the right reason. But also, before you pray about something, ask yourself why you want that thing. Because you could be in a position where it's like, be careful what you wish for. Also, let me just use this as an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to, let's see. For prayer, your intention is really important. So let's say I'm like a 15-year-old kid, and I'm praying. I'm like, please, 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 please get me a sports car. Please let me have a sports car. If that's not really going to serve your higher good, you're not going to get a sports car, because likely the reason being that you want that is for very materialistic and egoic type of reasons, not usually so spiritual. It's not probably going to help you that much. Especially if you're 15, you'll probably get into an accident or something. Yeah. But that's just a little example.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to, because I know there's different types of psychic ability. We were talking about this. There's clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then clairsentience.
Do you want me to go over them?
And claircognizance.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Did you say clairaudience yet?
Yeah. I think, there's 4, right? I think
there. Let me just go over.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is claircognizance. That means clear knowing. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, if you feel like you just know what's going on with somebody, or if you know their character, or even if you know what they've been through, or if you look at somebody's picture and a word or a phrase pops into your head, that's claircognizance. That's a clear knowing. That is probably the highest form of intuition, is the fact that you can clear your mind so much so that you can recognize when something is coming in and giving you information. And the reason why I say it's the highest form, it's because the ego is not involved when that happens. It's really not.
I think it's the trickiest one, though, because you can doubt yourself a lot. Like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Why did I do that? And I feel like people just deny that a lot. I feel like a lot of people have this ability. Yeah. And I think meditating, praying, just focusing and tuning into yourself, going to a quiet place, just journaling, but what you were saying, you know, I think all of that can help you connect to it.
A really great practice to get in tune with your claircognizance is to just practice with a friend, or somebody that is an acquaintance. You don't really know them, but you can still speak to them about, you know, basically anything comfortably. Just look at them and relax your mind and meditate across from them, and then just blurt out whatever it is that comes to your mind. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that will give you more confidence if you're validated, especially on the spot.
Yeah.
Because even for me, I've been practicing for a long time, I feel now, and I still doubt myself, but that self-doubt is the one thing that really screws it up.
Yeah.
And self-doubt's something that we learn through socialization as well, and that's why kids are so receptive.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I remember my mother saying, no, you were just hearing things. I'm like, and I still remember it.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Jeez. But yeah, I can definitely see that. And then what about clairvoyance?
Okay, so the clairvoyance is when you can see something with your third eye. So this is your third eye, and this is when you can see a clear vision. So yeah, I use clairvoyance very often. So if you're somebody who is an artist, or you're more visually inclined, or if you have a tendency to daydream a lot, you have the ability to open your third eye and connect with spirit through your clairvoyance. Yeah.
And then the clairaudience.
Yeah. Okay. So clairaudience is clear hearing. Now, this is when randomly you just hear a disembodied voice. You're picking that up through clairaudience. To me, that's the most frightening one.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hearing things, that would scare me. Absolutely.
Yeah. I had an incident where this was years ago. I was living in Georgia, like I said, like the most haunted place I've ever been.
Yeah.
I was so scared that I sat on the porch for 3 hours waiting for someone to come home, because this disembodied voice would not shut up. And it was like, especially when they're
saying?
I don't know, because when they talk like that and they keep going and going, and you're scared. First of all, you can't make out what they're saying, basically.
No, okay.
But more often than not, you're more than likely just going to hear words or phrases. Yeah, I mean, I remember one time I did a process on myself, and right after, it was like everybody's spirit and their dog was in my room trying to talk to me at once.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how did you have them, like, not really go away, but calm it down, really, in there?
I didn't. I just
let it
stayed awake
happen?
until I fell asleep.
Wow.
And it honestly, like, it wasn't scary. It was just more frustrating than anything, because I really wanted to go to sleep.
Okay.
But getting really close to your true essence and the core of who you are, clearing all the emotional stuff, clearing your chakras, that's what really keeps you close and connected.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times right after people heal something big, they're connected very, very strongly for like a few days, or maybe up to a week after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the last one is clear sentience, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
clairsentience. I love clairsentience because I have that. Clairsentience is when you walk into a room and you just feel different. That's how you notice. You walk in and you're like, A lot of times it's because that's the most noticeable thing. Or maybe you walk into a room and you feel very calm. That's clairsentience. You can feel sensations in your entire body. So basically your body is attuning to another energy. And then you can also attune to other people, so much so. But that's more, a lot of people use the term empath.
Yes.
When they're speaking about, feeling other people's feelings. I think it's also a part of clairsentience as well.
Yeah.
But predominantly when you look up the word clairsentience, the people are going to reference more like objects and buildings rather than people. But I think it works for everything.
Yeah, and I really truly believe that a lot of people do have these gifts, and people don't know what to do with them, or they don't know how to channel them,
or they don't even realize that they have them.
Exactly. So I feel like hopefully by you explaining it to our viewers, maybe they'll think about it some more and find a way to get connected to it.
Yeah, and you can use crystals too. Crystals, I have a crystal here called amethyst. This is great for, I don't know if anybody can see this. It's like purpley. It has some points on it. This is funny because I got this in Georgia. This helps you attune to your psychic side.
Purple.
Yeah, the amethyst does. Great stone for that. And if you want to clear emotionally, so that you can attune better, a rose quartz is excellent. This resonates with the heart chakra. This is where a lot of times we're holding on to things, and as soon as we can get those things out and unblock, then we're just going to be like, we're going to be connecting a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. And I love sleeping with crystals next to my bed. I feel like it helps a lot, especially with dreaming and all of that.
Yeah, I love sleeping with crystals too. Sometimes I just like put them all around my entire body.
Oh. You don't roll over on them?
Sometimes I do.
It would hurt.
Honestly, I do. And I'm just weird. No, I don't put the bumpy ones.
Okay.
I put like the round ones. I actually sleep with this one, and then it'll like fall into my bed, but like I don't feel it because it gets like it's like cushioned into the bed.
It's awesome.
Gosh, I just love rose quartz.
Yeah, and your name is Rose, so it's very fitting.
I know. I love giving rose quartz as a gift to very special people too.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's lovely.
Maybe you'll get one soon. I'm just kidding.
Oh, don't make me blush. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, so I know that I was talking to my girlfriends today, a couple of people, letting them know that you were going to be on the show again. And I think a few of them wanted to get like a general reading.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever you want to start with first, I know you have your pictures on your phone. So if you want to go ahead with that, I'm just going to check my phone real quick to see if anybody has any comments or whatnot on my Instagram page.
Should I call them out? Should I say their name? Who
Yeah,
they
you
were?
can. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I have to because they need to know.
Yeah. Let me just see here.
Okay, so Leslie.
Oh, just 1 second before you start. I just have one
Okay.
question. My friend Jade, she was here. She was talking last week. She was asking about her connecting and smelling incense
Yeah,
and all of that.
okay.
So she's saying, if your spirit guide or past loved one reincarnates back into the physical world, are they still your spirit guide watching over you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that can happen. And the reason why is because when you come down to this physical embodiment, you have a stream of energy that is like on the highest dimensional plane still. And there are no limitations on these other realms and planes. This is why a lot of times when I'm doing a reading for somebody that is still alive will come through and speak to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, like, let's say for example, oh, I'm seeing a woman, and I'm describing somebody that's alive, but I have a message from this person's soul to them. Great piece of advice. If you're ever in a conflict with somebody and you're just not feeling like you can have it resolved, you can speak to their soul. You can. And it's going to work if you're speaking purely from the heart. And you can write their soul a letter, or you can just, and then burn it. I love writing letters and burning them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you burn them?
Because it's a release.
Okay.
It's a release. I love using the elements. I'm very connected with the Native American energy. So elements are very important. The earth is important. Nature is so important. Yeah.
Oh, that's very...
So yeah, it is possible. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I have just a couple people. I think it was Barbara, my astrology teacher. I know she's watching right now, so if you maybe wanted to start with her.
Hi, Barbara.
I know she wanted to know.
Oh, I didn't attune to her energy. I just did your other two. Let's see.
Okay. We know her quite well too. I think you spoke to her over the phone.
I spoke to
right?
her briefly.
Yeah. So she wants to know how she can approach spirit. How it would be best for her.
Okay, so let me just draw in her. I'm going to draw in her higher self right now.
Okay.
It could take a minute because what happens is I'll see past, present, and future. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the future. Sorry, what was the question again?
She just wanted to know what's her best way to approach spirit to help her career-wise.
Studying, because that's what I got, a clear message. Taking the course, and I already know she's taking the course, but honestly, that's going to be really good.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really key there. I know you're taking a course, Barbara. My piece of advice for that is to clear your mind as much as possible. Even when you're not studying or working, just mindful meditations are really good, because when you're connecting psychically in any way, you're kind of giving up your own presence for another presence to take place. So clearing your mind is really imperative. So yeah, but I think that she's on the right track with that.
Great.
Yeah.
I think so too. She's so talented. She's amazing.
I can pull a card too.
Yeah.
Because cards really work.
And she was on the show like 2 weeks ago. So
okay. So Barbara, Archangel Metatron is an angel that you can call in. Archangel Metatron is really great for this. He is an archangel that is connecting to people with disabilities, but also people who are really special in this line of work. And they also, Archangel Michael kind of bridges the gap for people who are not so special or spiritually inclined, and people who are. So it's going to help you relay messages. Another really key piece of advice too is when you connect to your guides, they're not going to come in any way that's unfamiliar to you. They're going to come in such a way that you would, and they're going to talk to you how you would talk to somebody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't expect anything like super different. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well, not right away, at least.
Yeah.
After that, like you could be channeling in some alien beings that are blue, and I won't go there right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. They have like really loud voices.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I like to turn that on and off, actually. Super cool.
So then one of my friends, Leslie, I know that she wanted to know, well, if there's any blockages for her, how can she move to get, a better job or, work related, just how she can be a little bit more successful to get her on that right path. And I know you looked at her picture. I know you.
Yeah. Okay. So before, when I looked at the picture, all I was getting is that it's imperative for her to release emotionally, to not avoid, and I could sound like a total broken record, but it's so true. I just drive this home every time. Yeah. But it's important for you to not avoid your emotions at all costs. Also, something to do with a man. Since I'm not talking to her, I'm not going to go farther.
She'll be here in a couple of weeks, so if you
okay. Then I'll go if I see her, I'll go farther into it.
Yeah.
But right now, I do see a job coming to her in sort of like an office setting type of format.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what kind, but I know it's going to be business related in that respect. But also, you're being urged to seek spiritual solace. So that means any kind of church or any kind of spiritual practice is really going to be imperative, as well as prayer. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell her that. It's very important for her specifically, I believe.
It can do wonders. It really can, especially if you believe it. Yeah, you have to believe.
Is it
have
soon?
Faith.
Do you think that she's going to move into this other employment soon?
I'm getting a number 5.
Okay.
So that this could be happening in May because we're in a 5-month, or it could be happening in 5 months, or you're going to have something solid in 5 months.
Okay.
Or you're going to be secure in 5 months.
Okay. Well, let's hope that for her. And I'll tell her that she really does need to focus on her spirituality a little bit more. And then my other friend, Teresa, I know, she really wants to know what her calling is. I think that she has a lot of fears maybe that hold her back from what she wants to do. So what do you think her calling is?
So I love that you said fear, because can I just talk about fear for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So fear, by definition of, from a spiritual person, is the exact opposite of love. It is the one thing that creates division. To get out of fear, you're going to be looking for similarities in all of your surroundings. This means I'm going to look for similarities between us, because that's love. Anytime you look for differences, that's division, which is ultimately fear.
Yes.
Fear keeps you out of love, and it keeps you from seeing the similarities. And when you see similarities, it draws you closer to what you really want. However, I do know that it is not only a challenge in this life, but also a calling in this life to connect with the feminine energy for you. In this, I also saw you on a runway, so any kind of...
She can't. I can hear her laughing right now, going, ha ha. But no, seriously, Teresa, you're gorgeous. Honestly,
you are being urged to go into that direction. So I don't know if there's any kind of local venues that you can get into, but ultimately, after you can get really super connected to your own divine femininity, that is going to be where you're going to feel really grounded. And then you may also go on to connect with other women and teach them the same thing.
That's amazing. I hope so. I hope that for her, because I think she's just a very powerful, beautiful, intelligent person, and I think that she can do a lot with her life if she just let go of the fear.
Yeah, just be brave and believe in yourself. Anytime you have a thought that is challenging yourself, try to recognize it immediately, because that's a part of knowing yourself, is just recognizing those little things. I catch myself all the time still.
Yeah.
You know,
we're human. We can't help it. It's what we do, But if we're aware of it, if we catch it, then I think that it'll change.
Yeah.
Our lives.
The awareness will propel you into situations that are going to cause change in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I know we were talking about spirit a lot for quite some time, probably like 40 minutes. So I'm trying to think, maybe we should get into the astrology a little bit more.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask regarding spirit, meditation, connecting. We'll get back to that a little later.
Yeah.
So maybe I can go into some astrology right now. So I did want to touch very, very briefly on Saturn returns, because I feel like a lot of people that I know are going through them, and I know you're going through it. So, and I remember when I went through it. That's something you don't forget. But again, it affects everyone differently. And basically, Saturn takes 28 or 20 to 29 years to make a complete orbit. And it will hit your Saturn placement from when you were born. So it makes a complete orbit around your astrology chart. So during this time, a lot of people feel blocked. They can't make anything happen. They feel like, they feel like, is this real right now? Or what am I doing? What I'm doing, is that correct? Should I be in the situation right now? It's a confusing feeling. I think that people face a lot of challenges internally, externally, self-esteem issues, and I think that the more we fight it, the more people fight it, the worse it is. And is that what you feel that's going on right now? I have to look at your chart. I think it's in your second house.
Well, it's in my second house of finances. And money. So that's going on for me, and I am learning some lessons about that. So everybody knows, in case they're not super familiar with Saturn. Saturn is like the father, but like the disciplinary father that is trying to teach you about consequence through a period of time, and it's like karmic. Saturn is also that energy that just says, look, this is how you need to do this. There's no other way. Kind of like, right?
And in the chart, basically, it points to the greatest area of responsibility and unfulfillment in the past. So
karmic responsibility.
Exactly. So maybe something you didn't fulfill in a past life karmically is brought into this life that you have to face.
Possibly, yeah.
And, it could be. And it's you just have to really go with it, accept it. And it's going to teach you. And as long as you accept Saturn, you accept him for what he's doing, I think it's going to pay off in the end.
So for me, Saturn is in my second house in Sagittarius, which Sagittarius is this sign that loves to learn, and they love to explore. They love to travel. They also love to teach, and they love to gather people and go, oh, this person knows that, and they love to connect too. So I have this right in my money house, and it's returned. So for me, during this transit, would you call it a transit?
A transit,
yeah.
Cycle.
Yeah, during this cycle for me, it's very interesting because I finally decided to step directly into my true potential and say, that's it, I'm committing, which means, oh crap, I got to figure out how to let myself survive through this. I need to figure out how that's going to work. That's how it's been for me. I've changed my career completely. And I'm trying to figure out how to sustain myself by living in my true potential. But not only that, I'm coaching other people to do that as well. So I'm learning a lot of lessons right now about who I am authentically, what I'm meant to be, what my calling is. And it's a perfect time because literally I started this a year ago. And so there are challenges coming up. And then I have all these other aspects that are, other planets and things that are aspecting that too, that add on to it. But yeah, honestly, because I do so much work on myself emotionally, I do trauma release processes. So anything that holds me back, I'm committed to that. And therefore I'm not resisting the things that come at me, and I'm not hanging on to them. I'm allowing myself to feel it and let it go, because the more you hold it in, the more limited your view is. When you let something go, you're like, oh, I have like 10,000 options that I didn't realize.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the second house also represents your values.
My
so
values.
your values as a person could change.
Yeah. I value myself for the first time ever, like 100%. That's so true.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. And I see that it sextiles Mercury. So I think by you talking, communicating, speaking about everything related to Saturn in your second house, I think that's how you find some sort of relief, you know?
Yeah.
I think that you have that right there, and
I'm
you're
talking
very
about
blessed to have that. So
talking about the responsibility and the values and
yeah, absolutely.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I myself, I have it in the 12th house, I think, which is the most difficult placement.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ben Affleck has it too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Ben Affleck.
Ben
Are
Affleck.
you watching?
Yeah. 12th house Saturn.
Batman.
Yeah. So I mean, it causes a lot of depression, but it conjuncts my ascendant. So I have a lot of Saturn. I give off a lot of that, and it has pretty good aspects in my chart. So it does teach me a lot about responsibility. But what happens is when it's in the 12th house conjunct ascendant, you don't really bloom until after you're 30, after your Saturn return.
Isn't that the best time to bloom though? Because you already know everything.
You know, you're right, but I've seen so many people in their 20s where you ever see people that are like,
they take it for granted though.
But don't you ever see people like in high school, college, where they peak? And then it's downhill.
It's downhill after that. Yeah. I when I reflect on in high school, I do think about all the people that seem to have been doing incredibly well socially.
Yeah.
And then like half of those people are dead now.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
No, but it's true. I don't think death is terrible, but it's true. It's because
sad.
they just, they didn't have that responsibility reining them back in.
Right.
You know?
And I feel like my Saturn return, I mean, it changed my life completely. It brought me face to face with who I am as a person, and my self-esteem and my confidence took like a 180.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I got up and moved. A relationship ended. Like my entire life changed during my Saturn return.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not the same person I was 2 years ago or a year ago. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not either.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for it. And anybody who's going through their Saturn return right now, if you're 29, 30, I say what's up on Instagram, say what up, or I mean, it's gonna be fine. Like honestly, whatever happens to you is supposed to happen. It's gonna teach you. Saturn's the teacher.
So this is typically going to occur between the age of 28 and 30, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and then this is also although people who are the same age, they're going to have the Saturn in the same sign, but the house will be different too.
Exactly. Mine was in the 12th, so it affects more self-esteem.
Yeah.
Who you, I guess maybe your appearance or who you are subconsciously. Your subconscious. I'm doing a lot of subconscious work as well, so that's come to the surface. Mm-hmm. Yours is in the second house, money and values.
Yeah. So yeah, just like let's say I have a peer who is born a week before or after me. We could both have Saturn in the same sign, but it's going to be expressed in a completely different area of life because the house changes.
Exactly.
How often do the houses change? Do they change like?
I think it's every 30 minutes, every 15 to 30 minutes, maybe even less. I think it's 15 minutes, something like that. Because I was playing around with the times once, and then your ascendant changes like every 15 minutes or so.
It also depends. I learned this too recently. It also depends on where on Earth you were born, because my son was born in Alaska. Some of his houses are really small.
Oh yeah.
On the chart, they're like tiny. The other ones are like bigger.
Yeah, and it also I think in South Africa, I was told that there's some anomalies there too, but we can look more into that.
It's really fascinating. Somebody saw my son's chart and I didn't even notice this.
Oh.
And I was like, oh wow, that
is cool.
Totally.
But let me just take a glance. It looks like somebody wrote a comment.
So the time of birth is really important if you want to get a natal chart reading. The time of birth is really important. But do you think you can do them without the time? Do you think you can do a natal chart reading without the time of birth?
You can, but you don't have the houses. The only thing you have are the aspects.
Right.
So you don't have the houses. So you don't really know what part of someone's life is affected, just the energies of it. So my friend Jade, she has one more question. So she wants to know, how do you tell the difference between having a bad feeling out of fear versus your intuition?
Who is that, Jade?
Jade, yeah.
She's so cool. That's such a
She's such a cool chick. I can't wait for her to visit. Why don't you come here to Florida?
That is a very if you are gosh, I can't even fathom somebody asking something like that if they did not already know?
It's just something you know.
This is not base knowledge. Great question.
Yeah.
Okay. So the difference between your intuition telling you no and nervousness because you're on the precipice of something major that's going to change you, you're going to have to ask your intuition. So like I said before previously, your intuition, that answer will not change. So let's say if you're going somewhere and you get all these feelings like, oh my God, and you get like really nervous, a lot of times we can sense when something within our being is going to be altered through some kind of event or scenario. So that will come across as nervousness. But unfortunately, your ego will sense that and pick it up and start playing with it and say, oh, this is probably going to happen. This person's going to say this or that, this and that. The best thing to do for you, Jade, is to try to meditate. And this means getting your ego not involved. This ego is really just made for us for survival purposes, comparing, because we want to be autonomous from each other here on Earth. That's what it's for, but it's not going to be helpful if you have a question like that. So just, try your best. Obviously, if you sense danger, don't go with it, but your intuition, the answer won't change, whereas the ego is going to be back and forth. Well, what about this and that? And this person's going to do this. That's not going to be an answer.
And it takes practice, I think. Yeah. It doesn't just happen,
Yeah, it does take practice,
Yeah.
but your intuition is really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It'll give you like a yes or no or something, and it's not going to change the answer.
Yeah.
It's not.
And then there's one more question, I think, from one of our viewers here. Let's take a look. Whoop. Let's see. Sorry about my big head in front of the camera. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Jade said hard to tell sometimes. See, or if it's a gut feeling. Okay, so she went over that. So then I have Authentic Water. She has a question. Okay, so Mercury went direct in my second house. What are the implications for me? My natal Mercury is in my 5th house conjunct my sun. Oh, okay. So I have a conjunct my sun too. So it looks like you would be really great at a talk show as well. You're very good at communications, and it's in your 5th house, so you can probably be on stage with it. And now that it went direct in your 2nd house, I mean, I think it has more to do with aspects. More than anything, I think a Mercury transit probably doesn't do much unless it really makes an aspect to a natal planet. Mm-hmm. But in the 2nd house, probably finances, like things that, money that was supposed to be coming in, or money that you're spending, or things that you're spending your money on. Now it's time to focus on that.
But it's also going direct in Aries. So do you think that people are going to be making
impulsive
brash
decisions? Yes, we were going to get to that actually. Yeah, it's in more impulsivity on.
But it'll move into Taurus soon.
Yeah.
So they're going to be,
mm-hmm. But in your 2nd house, you're going to probably want to shop more. Like I do. Like I mean, my natal Mercury's in my 2nd, so I want to shop like crazy all the time. Whenever it's like retrograde, I go nuts. But I don't know. I think that it can trigger your, your natal Mercury in the 5th house when it conjuncts the sun. So
you might make money.
Yeah, you may make money doing something creative. I think speaking out or making a YouTube video. Make YouTube videos.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah, put yourself out there. I think now would be a really good time to do that. Let me just see what else is there. So my friend Teresa has another question. She says, I have is when will my Saturn return start to ease up? Not sure if you need my chart. Oh no, T, I know your chart pretty well. It's the one with the 3 trines. Remember I showed you her chart? In Ron's house. So you know what? I don't honestly, because Saturn is going retrograde, it's going to be some time for some people people who have Saturn return right this second. Mm-hmm. It's going to last a little longer because Saturn's going retrograde. So it's probably going to be until the end of the year. I think when it's going to ease up for people. But just hang in there. Whatever you're learning, like if you're just go with it.
And get some support too. I always tell people it's really because a lot of people are having issues with isolation.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel comfortable with expressing their emotions.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like collectively, like around the world, that's like a thing. It's like an emotional dark age. But it's so important for you to, when you're going through this time, to surround yourself with people who actually support you, but not in such a way that is shallow. You want people who feed your soul if that makes sense.
Absolutely. They feed your creativity. They give you
Yeah.
love.
Get support. Get
Right.
community.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask. I just want to move on quickly to the transits that are going on right now. So, okay, Mercury went direct as we were chatting about. So now it's 24 degrees Aries. So you're right. I think it's going to make people more impulsive. Like, you know, it was in retrograde, now it's direct. So everyone's probably going to have the urge to spend money or do something regarding that or anything. Really.
Or even just like say something
talking.
Like they shouldn't say.
Yes. That's the energy.
Like kind of like running your mouth.
Well, it's conjunct Uranus.
Yeah.
So you're going to be hearing a lot of weird stuff from people, or like you might even say something and be like, why did I just say that?
Yeah. Unexpected.
Yeah. I think that's going to happen. You know, and it could lead to breakdowns, breakthroughs.
Could it lead to innovation?
Yes.
Because of Uranus?
Yeah, it could. It could. Like something just so abruptly that comes to you, you know? I think it's a very interesting energy, and it's kind of a rare aspect too, I think. And there's another one going on right now. It's a small one. It's just a sextile, which is less than a trine. So it's like a small amount of positive energy, Neptune and the sun. So it's encouraging us to be creative, to build ourselves into our dream lives, to embrace the change. So I think that this sextile might ease the change that Uranus and Mercury is bringing in, I think, you know. But yeah, I feel like with this Mercury going direct, hitting Uranus, I feel like it's just going to be a lot of...
I think people are feeling better now that it's going direct again.
Please. It was annoying. Everything, like computers, cars.
Oh, yeah, I felt it too.
What a relief, honestly. So let me see. I think there's one more question. Okay. For people, so thanks, Keith. Thank you for watching. Okay, so authentic water. Oh, I completely have been shopping. Also more direct with communication. Yeah. For people in Saturn in the 7th, are we doomed in relationships? Also, it's transiting my 10th, and it's been running amok of changes in Sagittarius. Oh, okay, authentic water. You have it in the 7th house. What Saturn in the 7th house means is that you're going to get married. They say that you should get married after 30, after your Saturn return. I don't know how old you are, but I was told that when Saturn's in your 7th, it's very important that you get married after your Saturn return. And as a woman, you might marry a man that's quite older than you, or you're attracted to older men. Doesn't mean that you're doomed. It's just that you need to wait after your Saturn return. I think it's just...
Yeah. Well, unless you can find somebody who can go through those changes with you.
Right.
Which,
But that's what they say. I mean, I knew someone with it, and, you know... He got married after Saturn returned and got divorced. So, I mean, I don't know. But that's what they say. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that it makes you more serious about relationships. You take them seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, because the 7th house is the house of other people.
And it's Libra. So, and Saturn's exalted in Libra. In that area, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that it creates a lot of structure.
And responsibility just around other people in general, too. Maybe you'll restructure your community or your family home, and then, like you said, get married.
Yeah, and if it's transiting your 10th house, you know, you could have a change in career.
Yeah,
you never
absolutely.
know. Yeah.
That makes sense, because then everybody in your career would change, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's a bad thing having in 7th. And I think that she's commenting one more time, and then... Let's see. Okay. Oh, hi, Camilla. What are the houses? Well, if you'd like an astrology lesson, Rose and I will be more than happy to to give you lessons. Or you can go see Ron, our teacher that we're seeing once a week.
Ron Watson.
Ron Watson. He wrote this book.
The greatest story never told.
Yeah, the Cosmic Key to Astrological Prediction as well. So he's really great with predictions.
Very well seasoned.
Yes, using the new moon and whatnot.
And he also takes all of this astrological information dates back to 6,000 BC. And he finds all of the connections there. So he's pretty unique.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Very unique, actually. Very educational.
And the houses actually mean... the areas of your life. So, first house is self, second is values,
Yeah.
10th is career, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So how it's being
Yeah.
expressed in your life, in what area? Like,
Yeah. So maybe one of my other shows I can actually do like a small lesson and maybe go through, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure a lot of people learned a lot of different things.
I
I
had so
definitely
much fun.
did. Oh, it was awesome. Thank you for talking about spirit and doing those readings.
Yeah. Well, I'm available. I'm a psychic coach too.
Yes.
So I don't know if anybody knows that. Because I know, I'm a psychic medium. That's kind of what I embody. But I actually really coach people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a true healer. And if anyone needs to contact her, you can find her on Facebook.
Facebook.com/Potentials with Rose. Also on Instagram, at Potentials with Rose.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I'll have all of her information on Facebook. And then right under this live link. And you can have readings with me as well. I'm strictly astrology. I coach people through astrology.
But you're very intuitive too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Super. She has clear cognizance. So that ability is very natural.
Thank you. And yes, if anybody wants a reading like synastry, couples, relationships, personal readings, knowing their karma, whatnot, and wants to get an astrological chart done, feel free to add me on Moonlight Astrology on Instagram, or you can always email me astrologybymoonlight@gmail.com. All that stuff will be under the link in this video. So again, thanks for watching. Catch me back next Wednesday. Everyone have an awesome day, and hang tight if you're going through Saturn return. You're not alone.
Yes.